Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I want to talk a little bit about the 2014 film Divergent. This was a movie sent to me by my brother on YouTube, TJ Pyramid, over the holidays. Thank you very much, sir, for sending it my way, because I was largely unfamiliar with this particular movie. I'd seen the trailers back a while ago now, and I really just did not get a good vibe from the trailers. I didn't really understand exactly what was going on with the whole sci-fi, dystopian, post-apocalyptic future and all these kinds of things. What basically, the whole Divergent aspect of it meant within the confines of the story. I had no idea that this was based on a novel trilogy by Veronica Roth and all those kinds of things. And so I'm on a learning curve after having watched this film. I just was really rocked by it. I thought it was really awesome. And of course, the film stars the likes of which Shailene Woodley, Theo James, Ansel Elgort, Kate Winslet, Ashley Judd, Jai Courtney, Zoe Kravitz, among others. And it's primarily dealing with a sort of post-World War III kind of framework. So much time has passed, and humanity has kind of closed themselves off in this little region and broken themselves apart into 5 factions. I've listed them here because, I can't really remember them all off the top of my head, but you have Abnegation, which is embodiment of selflessness. You have Dauntless, which is being brave, Erudite, which is intelligence, Amity, which is peacefulness, and Candor, which is honesty. And so each of these groups, you're basically following around one of the Abnegation sort of faction, this character Beatrice, Shailene Woodley's character, who she's about to face a test to basically proclaim what her future will be. And I guess it's kind of decided for you, even though you loosely are given the right to choose whatever faction you want to, sort of blossom into. It's still sort of strongly suggested, when you take this test, whatever your results are, this is where you should probably go. This is the direction you should seek. And so her and her brother are actually both going to be taking this test together. And we find out Maggie Q actually appears as the person who gives her the test, which I wasn't expecting, a little sort of cameo appearance like that. But in any case, she finds out that she is in fact a divergent, somebody who, the results of the tests are not conclusive, and it seems to suggest that she has bits and pieces of each of these factions in her personality. So not very much easily henpecked toward one or the other and the like. And so she's basically told by Maggie Q, she kind of tries to get her out without anyone knowing it. And she's basically told, stay with Abnegation. You don't want to choose anything else. You don't want them to find you. There's, being a divergent is taboo and all this kind of stuff. And so she kind of defies that when it finally comes, to this big ceremony where they're going to be choosing what faction they want to move on to. The brother ends up going with Erudite, the intelligence faction, which is somewhat of a shock. And it's even more shocking that she decides to go with Dauntless, the sort of borderline crazy and brave faction of sort of security and police force and military force within this framework. And so a lot of the movie is actually her, I guess you could say, training and trying to better her physicality and deal with, being put up against it. And there's this whole serum that they inject you with that causes hallucinations, whereby they are testing, essentially, the frame of mind, the strength of will and the fearlessness and the strategic elements, how you get out of a situation and, basically the courage you have. Some of her fellow Dauntless trainees, if you will, end up trying to jump her and kill her, get her out of the framework of, being one of the Dauntless, because basically one of these characters is not doing well, he's not faring well, he's probably going to be sent packing. And if you are sent packing, there's this whole idea of being factionless, which is like the refuse of humanity. They have no faction, they have no purpose, and so they are literally cast out. And this guy is of the utmost fear and concern that that's what's going to happen to him, so he tries to get Triss out of the way, and of course he then pays for it with his own life. I guess he takes his life. And so she's constantly up against it, though, and eventually realizes that a sort of chance encounter with the leader of the intelligence faction, the Erudite, has sort of spurned on this idea that, well, something's afoul with them. They have some sort of motivations going on, and I don't want to get into it too entirely in this video to spoil it for anyone who might want to check out the film and hasn't as yet, or the novel trilogy, but suffice to say, it's very interesting in that the most intelligent people in these 5 factions, the Erudite faction, are looking at, the lesser factions, if you will, like the Factionless, like the, you know, Abnegation, as something to be wiped out, as a plague to be wiped out. And I'll leave it there. I won't describe any further, but it's very interesting that, because you would think maybe the Dauntless, the more militaristic and power-hungry, might come to that conclusion. And it's interesting how there are certain working in tandem aesthetics going on between those two factions and the like. The thing I really liked about this film, though, was it really spoke to my nonconformist nature, in that, you know, not wanting to conform to society's sort of beliefs as to what I should be, what I should become. You know, I think everyone can relate to that whole aesthetic, especially governmentally, where we have a government that kind of, you know, and big business and all these things really pick and choose our lives for us and try to keep us conformed down into a box, and always, you know, at the bottom, barest minimum, so we can't ever really change things effectively enough. And that's kind of what's going on in this framework. You have Triss, who is a divergent, who is not so easily henpecked into any one of these 5 categories, and that is the utmost, you know, fear in all these factions, especially the most intelligent faction of them all. They really fear things that cannot be easily cataloged, that cannot be logically placed into a line, into a box, into a format. And it's all about breaking beyond that and having to, in a sense, go to war against that sort of oppression, if you will. And so by the end of it, you're left with a sort of pseudo-hopeful aesthetic with, you know, the Triss character breaking free of this framework, and some of the other small ragtag group that goes with her, investing and at least stopping for the moment the plans of the intelligence faction erudite, and the promise of something further to come. You know, probably there will be some kind of war brewing if, you know, basically this intelligence faction ever gets back on its legs and everything like that. It's just really an intriguing, action-packed, and, you know, interesting, twisty-turny kind of story in this particular film, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen Divergent, if you've read the book, what you thought of it. You know, would you recommend it to others to check out, as I would definitely do with this particular video, or did it not necessarily meet your tastes? Going in, as I say, I definitely didn't have high expectations for the story. I really knew nothing about it, in all honesty, and it ended up really wowing me. So, yeah, thank you once again, Joe, for sending it my way, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. And otherwise, I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you later. Peace.